This is a sixth lesson about 75 Arlington Street, and we're looking at the underlay of an image file of the first floor, which is not a vector graphic drawing, but it's going to, it's telling us about doors and door swings and where they are, etc., etc. Let's start. Well, let's start in this corner here. So we're looking at an opening with a double door that swings inwards, presumably the opening to the store, and we believe this to be a curtain wall element. Because they're doors, the sill is going to go right to the ground, right? So if we look on the internet and we're examining the facade here, let's see if we can see this a little more closely. So, there are our double doors. There's our sill at 12. So we need a system, and there's a transom above. And it looks like it corresponds to the transoms here, here, here. So these are similar systems. How do we go about modeling that? Well, let's see if we can save an image. And make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to quickly capture the screen here. Start Photoshop. And I'm just saving out this image so we have it handy. I want this to be a pin, documents, Arlington Street, images, montage. Let's see, 75R, and kind of store. Front entry. In that fashion, we can have it available to us when we need it. Okay. Let's go to a 3D view. And we very quickly, provisionally, put in this storefront, which is already divided into panels and mullions and a transom. But let's say I wanted to construct one more carefully from that image that we just looked at. That image being this, right? So what I need here is this to be some kind of, I'm going to construct the curtain wall from scratch by replacing this curtain wall storefront with a plain curtain wall. Let's try that again. Well, essentially what I wanted to do was delete the grid lines. So I want to replace it with curtain wall 1. Delete grid lines. Okay. So we removed all of the grid lines. And what that will require us to do now is create new grid lines. So I'm going to just drop this sill down. And from architecture, I'm going to select curtain grid, which creates grid lines. And I'm going to start by placing 1, 2, 3 of them, and a horizontal one, which is going to be a transom. Now, right now I didn't pay attention to the distance between these, but I can dimension and use the dimensions to set the distance between grid lines. So I'm going to select the aligned dimension, Revit automatically creates grid lines at the outermost part of the curtain wall. So you can see that the grid line exists. And let's measure the overall width here. From here let's try again. That grid line to that. Okay, so we have 14 feet there. And if we were to divide that by 4, it may need to be a little bit wider than that. 14 divided by 4 is about 3.5 feet each. So I could take each one of these grid lines, 3.5, next one 3.5, the next one 3.5. So there's a fairly even distribution. Let's look at that picture again. That's believable because we can develop the doors. Each one of those doors, I'm guessing, is a 36-inch door, maybe a 7-foot height. We have this signage over it. So there's a couple of other things we have to do here. We probably need another horizontal division, so that would form the head of the doors, and then we'd open up these panels to the spandrel in between. So let me see if I can leave this window open. I'm going to minimize this Revit here so we can still see what we're doing. Let's put this window side. Right, so we have that view. I can also snap orthogonally to this, but for now this will be sufficient. I'm going to continue with grid line. I'm going to place another horizontal one, and I'm going to make that be the top of my door, or the head height of the door. So let's go ahead and dimension. And that grid line, this grid line, no. Let's see how we can do this. Okay, so we have this inference. What if we made that 7 feet? And that gives us 1/8, and then, you know, whatever's left. So we stayed 2 feet from level 2. But, so I think what I want to do instead for this wall, it looks more like 3 feet minus 3. I could make, let's see if we shade this. So we can see a little better what's going on here. So this horizontal grid line could become a mullion. So we go architecture, let's make that one a mullion. That one and that one and that one could become a mullion. have mullions at either end and we have it on top. So how do we refine the, oh, and that becomes a mullion. But we find that it's unnecessary to have that, even though it's at the height of the door. We don't require those. We don't require mullions at the sill of the door because the doors need to swing. So I'm deleting those. I'm going to delete the mullion in between. So now we've got kind of, and the mullion in between in the center here. So now we have roughly what it is that system is. Oh, and we don't need a mullion in between the two doors. So now that these have become panels, and I'm going to replace those panels with doors. Insert, load family, and the curtain wall door is a certain type. There's a double glass and a single glass. I'm going to load all of these, even though it isn't that, it isn't that type. So now that those are part of the model, I can select a system panel and replace it with a curtain wall door. Single glass. And do the same with that panel. Single glass. In order for that to show up in this view, we need to change the detail level define so that the handles will show. Okay, this door needs to swing the opposite way, and I can change that in plan. So if I go to level 1 floor plan, go over to where I've placed those doors, I can reverse the swing, so now they're both swinging inwards. Tab back to this view. Okay, there are some other refinements that we can make. Clearly the spandrel that separates the transoms from the door system and the signage on top needs to be thickened, so we need a separate profile for that. But for all intents and purposes, that is how we go about modeling a curtain wall system, which is basically a set of panels that are glass, that are either that either serve as glazing, or in this case glazing and doors. Okay, so I would perform the same operation for this system here, right? We have a sill at the right height, but this is split up into 3 panels. So what I might do here is change this from storefront to curtain wall plane, delete the grid lines, draw a new grid line, at the center, at about the center. If I select this wall, it's telling me, let's see, it's got about 10 feet, 10.9. What if I just made it 11? Would make each of these 5.5 feet. Now we need a grid line that's horizontal. And we would want for that one to align with the first one that we've established here. So we would need to measure from there let's see how we can do this. We can use one of the orthogonal views. So the south elevation gives us a measurable, I think we can do it here. From that line, so we have 911 there, 88 there, as to the ground. Change that to 8. Select that wall, set that top offset as we did before, the -3, and then make these mullions we already have the mullions at either side, so they're not perfect, but we are now approximately have what's going on at the ground floor here and at this entry. And this is the way you would do all of them. I mean, if we had something here that we wanted to repeat, we could simply take this element and copy it and replace the adjacent one with it. With what I've done here, you have most of what you need to model this ground floor. So let's stop